Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the next version of Traveler to come up after GURPS Traveler, and it came up a little concurrent with GURPS Traveler. Traveler T20. This came out in 2002, ran through about 2008. Quite a few offerings from this game and a lot of fun. I like this game. This was written by Martin J. Doherty, who's still active, and Hunter Gordon, who unfortunately has passed away. Introduction, of course, by Mark Miller. This was the part of the open gaming license from Wizards of the Coast for D&D 3rd Edition. This was the Traveler version of it. I know there's a lot of hatred for D&D 3rd Edition these days. I really don't understand it. I like the T20 system, and I've played it for years. I'm going to be going into the book itself and a little bit about the setting. So today on page 121, Traveler T20. All right, Traveler T20. I liked this game. I bought the rule books for D&D 3rd Edition when they first came out, and we looked it over. We, being my gaming group and I, we looked them all over and discussed it, and we decided we were just going to stay with 1st Edition. That being said, I took plenty of stuff from D&D 3rd Edition and rolled it into my 1st Edition campaign. There I have 30 or 40 spells that I have modified from 3rd Edition into 1st that we use regularly in our campaign. So that was just a little bit of background on this. I also had played the D20 version of the Star Wars game by WotC, and I like that game a lot. We still play that game. But when this came out, I was really excited. Traveler in the D20 system. I had already looked at some of the Traveler sci-fi, or the sci-fi stuff for the D20 system. I was pretty excited to get the official Traveler take on it. Now, that being said, I like the artwork in this book a ton. That being said, I like that too. This book is a very well-written book. Martin Doherty writes a good book, no question. It reads very well. This book itself is kind of setting free. When you have this rule book, you have a rule book that is about making your characters, how you play the game, your weapons, your vehicles, that kind of thing. The actual universe itself came out in a later book called Gateway to Destiny, and I'm going to go ahead and look at that in a few minutes, just very briefly, just to show you what the setting was. So for this one, you had something like 16 classes that you could be. I'm going to go ahead and go into here a little bit. Pretty standard D20 character creation. So if you're familiar with D20, I'm not going to go into that a ton. I'm just going to show how the book itself is laid out. I like this book a bunch. One thing I liked about the D20 system was the open end. Everything started at 0 and went up. You didn't run into the negative armor classes and things like that. That was another thing we discussed back in the day. Did we want to change that in our D&D game and alter the armor class system to adopt the D20? And we said no. For all its flaws, we're used to the original AD&D game system with its negative 10 to 10 armor class ratings. I'm not changing. So I felt that way 20 years ago. I feel that way now. So here we go into the character creation. You pick a class, you roll your abilities, all the standard D20 stuff. Here's your ability scores, and here's the modifier with it. Now the modifier, of course, is something that's kind of become standard in Mongoose. Not quite like this, but really close. And this is the first place I saw this explored was in Gamma World 4th Edition. I like this. I like having that. There's an actual modifier for your ability score. Plays well in the Star Wars D20 game. And then here, once you've rolled your ability scores, you can pick your race. And then there are pluses and minuses for being any kind of other race. If you're a V'lani, Zodani, Vargir, you get plus and minus stats, things like that. So I like this. I like Aslan as a race. I always have. And then it lists here the other major races. And then any kind of humans with any kind of genetic alterings like these. Now, one thing I liked about this book, too, is it wasn't afraid to go and give us new races. This entire T20 era gave us lots of new stuff. So we're going to go through the Varushi. I like those guys. And then the World Trade. I'm not going to go through every page of this book. Here's the characters themselves. You get the academic. We're all familiar with these classes, playing Traveler. I just want to show that they were present right there in the D20 version. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. You get to your skills. Skills is this book. A lot of these skills you can cross over right now with Mongoose or Classic Traveler and not even breathe hard. Any translation, one thing I've loved about Traveler in its almost 45 years of existence is it's very swappable with nearly every other era of Traveler. This era, the D20, and probably the new era setting would be the most foreign game systems to Traveler, if you will. That being said, well, GURPS too, I guess. But that being said, you could still take the skills out of this book and modify them and play them in any other version of Traveler. So we're coming over now to feats, which is something that was unique to D20. It's shown up here and there in other games. Your final details on making your character. Feats are just other things you're good at. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail on that stuff. You go into your prior history. Mongoose Traveler has introduced during the character creation where you develop rivals or enemies or allies, benefactors. You can even go to jail for a time. That's interesting. I have not run Mongoose yet. I'm going to be running it when we can get together again, hopefully at the end of the month. And I haven't decided yet how much of the character creation I'm going to stick with. So I'll let you know what I decide. I'm not crazy about my character going to jail before I've even had a chance to play him. It's just how I am. So here's how combat works. This is, you get personal combat. You also get space combat. The D20 personal combat I think is very good. The D20 space combat I feel falls apart a little bit. You have to do a lot of work to kind of make that happen. I found that to be true in any of the D20 systems I've run. It just doesn't, it's not smooth. And then coming through here, we get some prestige classes, which are pretty nice. These are specialist classes that you can be part of. There are some rules for how you get into these. You can be a psionic in the game, of course. That's an important part of Traveler, always has been. I've got an idea for a game I've wanted to do for a while. My players don't seem that interested, where everyone is a psionic of some type. And I would have 4 people who would play in it right now, both my sons, my friend Craig, and my friend Roy. My wife doesn't play the science fiction games usually. I'm trying to talk her into Traveler. She's played Traveler, and she liked it well enough, but she prefers the magic. But anyway, back to psionics, my idea was that each of them would be a psionicist of some sphere, and each of them would have different spheres. But they said it felt too superpowered, too much like champions. They really weren't interested. And they have a point. Just an idea. So coming over through the psionic powers, I like the psionics. In fact, I've milked some ideas for other games out of this book, like Champions. I've run this campaign. I started running it in 2002 when the book came out, so really into 2003, and I ran it off and on through to the mid-2000s. One of my players actually reminded me of this, that I had actually switched back to Classic Traveler for a while in the around 2010 through the 2015 era thereabouts, and I've come back to this since then. But then, of course, when we stopped being able to play so much in the last 2-3 years because of world events, I've come away from this a little bit, and I was at a good break point for my T20 campaign, and I have no problem picking that back up. But I thought I would go ahead and start with the Mongoose Mongoose 2. In fact, I just got the Mongoose Traveler 2, the updated version of the rules. I'm expecting the hardcover any day. When I get my hands on that, I'll do a video on it. Okay, continuing on. Here we go. These were cool. I like these full color sheets right in the middle. And his here, Traveling News Service. I was a big fan of Traveling News Service, and it appears in almost all of my games. Here's some headlines of the day. And then some other cool color pictures. Now, these pictures got recycled a bunch in the various offerings from Quik Entertainment, I think was the parent company of this. Quik Interactive. Sorry about that. But I did like this artwork, especially the full color. That added a bunch to it. I love that. I'd love to get a poster of that. So here we go we're in the technology and equipment section. And how you design different stuff. I'm not a designer. I've talked about that before. Designing ships and vehicles is not really my interest. I could do it. I just usually find that the game has enough that I don't have to tweak it. But that being said, I know there are plenty of people out there who design and who love doing it. Who, when they can't play, they sit down, they design stuff, and hey, more power to them. Whip up a couple of starships for me. So here we go. Standard designs coming through the design section. As you can see, this is a massive rule book. When I first picked this up, it reminded me of the Champions rule books, how big those guys are. Here we go. The ENKRD Design Bureau, the vehicle catalog of 992. I'm going to get into this in a little bit, where this is set and what year. Again, beautiful color pictures. I love the artwork on this, in this offering. Just, I like that picture a bunch. Just makes you really think, what's he thinking? What's he seeing? The guy's reaching for his pistol. I'm not sure that's a good move, buddy. Traveling, how you travel, how you pay your cruise. Just a very comprehensive book. A great offering. Oh, I've kept the original receipt for this, $48.66, and I bought it on 11/2/02. I remembered that I didn't play this much until 03, and that jives with my memory. And the universe, worlds, and development, how you would roll up your own worlds. I do that. I like to roll up my own worlds, or I'll further flesh out a system. And then going into Traveler Adventures, if you want to have a short adventure, an epic, what kind of cast of characters, non-player characters you want, and then some appendices, a glossary, and then your character sheets. Very complete, very nice offering. I recommend it for anybody's Traveler library, even if you have no intention of playing it. It's a great read. It was set in a pretty cool choice. It's set in the Gateway. This book is Gateway domain. It's pretty cool because it's in 993. It's right around the time of the Soleimani War. So it's a good backdrop. It's a very dynamic backdrop. I ran a few games set in this setting. It was a lot of fun. I like to keep my Traveler more in the classic era of 1105 to 1110. So I didn't stay long in this era, but I did like it. And I like this book in particular. I'm not going to go into a bunch on this book. I may feature this in a future video. This book had a lot of historical information that was immediately important about the Soleimani Rim and the Soleimani Rim War. Sorry, I blanked on that a minute ago. Just all kinds of good stuff. The Crucius Margin. I've had a fondness for these since they were done by Judges Guild back in the early 80s. I know that's long since decanonized, but I don't care. So there we go. There's one of the main campaign books that went with this. But going back to my main topic, which is Traveler 20. I love this book. I recommend it highly. It is available as part of the Far Future Enterprise disc sets. You can get everything they offered for Traveler 20. It's definitely worth it. Great library of products on those discs from Far Future Enterprises. Also, I've seen this actual physical book on sale on eBay, and not real expensive. I paid obviously $45 for this. You can get it for around that. So anything you can get 20 years later for still cover price, I figure that's a win. They also published a Traveler Light version of this. It looks similar, but it's light rules. It's not this big thick book. Just be careful if you're buying it online that you're not buying the Traveler Light and thinking you're getting this book. Traveler Light would be worth getting. I never bought it because I had this guy, but I just want to warn you that that's out there. So that's all we got for today from page 121. I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.